what the data shows is that, yes, if you are virgins, and yes, if you get married young and you're Christian, yes, your divorce rate's
but that's because they're Christians.
Yes, it is. But I thought that your primary thing that you wanted was to reduce divorce.
I do, but not because they believe that God thinks divorce is bad, but because they're actually happy in their marriages.
No. This contradicts what you just said. You just said that women are leaving their marriages because they're not happy inside of their marriage. I literally made sure to steel man it so that you would agree to it.
But you're saying it wrong. I said women are not getting married because they don't want to be with somebody.
No. Here was the steel man. I'll give it back to you. The steel man. Here's exactly what happened, and you can replay this if you don't believe me. I said, so you're saying women are initiating these divorces because the men are mistreating them, or in some way there's something wrong with the men, and you said yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so if that's the case, then that would still be the case, even with these Christians. So are these young men just way higher quality men?
Because Christians, especially more devout Christians, don't believe in divorce.
But
it's a very controversial thing, especially in your own community.
But they can still get divorced.
But it's not socially acceptable. Like, you can say that, but it's not.
I don't think it has anything to do with that.
It does.
Because my husband and I are not staying. My husband and I are
you
not
don't come
not
from a Christian
divorced.
community. Don't be full of shit.
I come from a Jewish community.
That's not a Christian community.
But it's similar in the sense that
it's not similar.
Everybody's extremely Orthodox. They get married very early. They stay married for a very long time.
They don't give a shit about divorce. It's not a big deal next to those communities. It's not a huge deal.
I love how you're talking like you know.
I love how you're talking like you do. I'm telling you, in these Christian communities, which you're speaking on, just so that you understand, they are reporting their happiness levels much higher. They have less antidepressant use. They go to therapy and therapists far less. They have far less of these societal issues that you see. Stop talking. Almost done. Until yes, there are documented.
No, there's less antidepressants prescriptions because there's less therapy because they don't believe in therapy.
Then why is it?
Hang on. My husband and I go to therapy. We are actively in therapy.
Then how come the unaliving rates aren't higher?
Hang on, let me finish. Because we believe in marriage. I am not going to divorce my husband because of the fact that because the Bible says don't get divorced. I mean, that's part of it. But I feel like I want to work on my marriage. And so I do go to therapy and we do work hard on it. And it's not because strictly the Bible tells us not to, but good things take work.
A lot of women, especially if you're in a very religious community where your social points or whatever is dependent on how well you're doing in life, a lot of women don't necessarily want to divorce even if they're in a bad marriage or they're unhappy because they don't want everybody else to say certain things or they don't want to take that step with their life. They're very scared.
Wouldn't that lead to poorer outcomes?
It would lead to poorer outcomes.
Well, then where can you demonstrate the poorer outcomes? Because all of them are reporting that the outcomes are better. Not only are they getting divorced less, hang on, their kids are far less prone to get into any type of criminal activity at all. Their kids are far more likely to be stable in life. They're far more likely to graduate from high school. They're far more likely to do all of these things. And on top of that,
because of religion.
Well, you just got done saying it is. You just literally got done saying that's because there's all these incentives who keep them together.
Symptoms, and then you're saying that's all because of religion when I said one thing was because of religion.
Yes, but no. I just asked you, wouldn't they have worse outcomes? And you said yes, but when we look at the outcomes, they're not worse.
Not just because they're religious.
But they don't report they're unhappy.
But that's because they're not doing anything that would, like, how are they going to report it, please? If they don't go to therapy.
A Pew researcher, exactly. A Pew researcher could call them and say, are you unhappy? And they would say yes.
That's not how it happens.
It is how it happens.
No, that's not how it happens.
How is data gathered?
You do studies. You take a sample.
And in the study, how do they gather the data?
You take a study.
How do they gather the data for the study?
But I'm saying in this study.
How do they gather the data for the study?
The population in question, sorry. the population in question here, they're literally not going to therapy. They don't have to.
Yeah, that's because they're stable.
They go to their priests. They do their whatever.
Yeah.
You're saying they're stable because that's what the stats show. But
yeah.
They're not actually saying, like, they don't have.
They do. They literally use polling data.
How
do they do
that? They just called them up and they were like, hey, are you happy?
The same way that they do for secularists.
No, that's not.
Yes.
No,
they tell me how they do it.
They have therapists and they have antidepressants.
And for the religious, you have the priest and you have the infrastructure.
Okay, so are they going to the priests?
Yeah, sometimes they talk to people who are in the church, but just like with secularists, they'll also just call directly to the housewife.
They don't do that.
They do that. As part of a sample size, Pew will call people and literally ask them a series of questions to make a determination on their answers. How many people give similar answers to come up with data? Of course they do.
Okay.
Okay, then give me the alternative for how this is done.
You figure out the stats on how the doctors are prescribing antidepressants. You figure out how many people are starting to go to therapy compared to how many were years ago. You do all these different.
Yeah, but how would
stats.
you determine individually who's unhappy and who isn't?
How would you determine individually?
By asking them like they do.
Okay.
I will say,
I don't really understand where you're going.
My
with this.
point
Like,
is that if we look at the outcomes, you speak out of both sides of your mouth. You say it's not because of Christianity, but it's because of Christianity. Then when we look at the outcomes, I say the outcomes in this group far better for everybody. You say, but that's not because of the religion.
It's almost like not everything's black and white, and there's nuance.
That's
right?
why I'm happy to get in the nuance.
Might be because of Christianity, and other things might not.
Well, which things do you think may not
right?
be?
I think the fact that the stats show that they're happier, and the fact that they're getting divorced less, I think that is because their society, and a very, very Christian one. I'm not talking about a very secular society where there's some Christians.
Sure.
I'm talking about a devout Christian society where everybody is practicing very devoutly. Okay, in that sort of society, they're not.
Dude donated $199. Hey dog, you're 100% right on all. But criticism, you're talking to low IQ children focused only on emotion. At home/laughing will not teach them, even if their opinions are laughable. Just my 19,900 cents.
Thank you for those 19,900 cents. But
Remember that
those
this audience
communities-
is also full of simps, and they don't like seeing women uncomfortable. But anyway, go ahead.
Whatever. This community is filled with people who believe in very similar values, and those values tend to be no divorcing, no therapy. Therapy is bad. No antidepressants. These things are bad. And so all of the other stats that people would usually be able to base off in order to determine, is this community
Which stats?
happy?
Hang on,
or not?
Wait,
The
are
amount
you
that they're
saying
going
that
to
the
therapy, the
Christian
amount that
community says that
prescription-
it's bad to be on antidepressants and it's bad to go to therapy?
More devout Christian communities believe that, from my understanding. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't think that's
absolutely
right.
not.
That's
But
absolutely wrong.
I will say that when you do accept Jesus into your life,
But are you guys
you're
devout Christian?
I mean,
Yeah.
you're actually right. Just so you know, yes, it is true that they often don't have to go to therapists because they have the infrastructure of therapy there. They have their priests, they have their community. They need it less.
Okay, so maybe
And
they're
what
going
ends
to
up
priests.
happening is, yes, you can make these determinations based on what these people are self-reporting, and you can look at their outcomes versus the rest of the population. That's how you would do the happiness index globally. You would look at the outcomes, who has the houses, and who's living with food in their belly, blah blah blah. You would add all that to a happiness index. Why wouldn't you add that same type of thing when it came to outcomes for individuals? Of course you would.
For individuals, I just like, when you're talking about individuals, it's like a little bit hard. When you're talking about a community, that's different, right? If you're talking about a Christian community versus like a regular secular community.
Yeah, but it's made up of individuals.
Yeah.
So we're just looking for
when you're-
averages.
Well, when you're talking about one individual, you can't.
I'm not talking about one individual. We're
Exactly,
talking
so
about an
that's why it's
entire.
true.
We are talking about the community. That's the point. But the
Right.
point is, within this community, these individuals seem very much more well-adjusted than other individuals.
Some of that, I think, is because, first of all, Christianity, but other
Yes,
things is
because of
also
Christianity.
no. But I'm saying because Christianity denounces certain ideas like divorce and therapy and whatever. But also, I do think that because Christianity promotes the nuclear family, which I actually do think is a great thing.
Yeah.
That also helps a lot.
It's too bad that feminism doesn't.
I don't necessarily think that's true. I think feminism just promotes that men and women are equal.
Would you like me to read the quotes of the famous feminists who say that the nuclear family needs to be destroyed and eradicated?
Taken it too far, and I would disagree with them. But just because I'm a feminist doesn't mean I have to agree with every feminist take.
Yeah, but in order to achieve egalitarianism, you'd have to remove the nuclear family because the nuclear family
don't.
requires patriarchy.
No, it doesn't.
It does.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, so the nuclear family does not require a mom who stays at home and a father who works.
Even if it does, that's not patriarchy.
Well, then what is it?
They can still treat each other with respect. and
Respect
equally.
has nothing to do with patriarchy. If you were in charge of a
What do you-
family,
what do you consider patriarchy to be?
all it
Patriarchy
means is
doesn't
home
just-
of the father. It just
No,
means a
patriarchy
society
means
run by men.
Yeah, patriarchy means a society run by men. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean your house can't be a man can't be a head of a household. Yeah, he can.
Then it would be a patriarchal household.
No, it wouldn't.
Then who runs it?
The man can be.
How can a man be a head of a household but not run it?
Because he's making all the money, but that doesn't mean he has to not take any word from his wife and just do whatever.
I'm pretty sure you're supposed to just lead the family
You're
closer
supposed
to
to
God.
be the man. and
Wait. I'm so confused. Is he in charge of the household?
No, they're both in charge.
Oh, they're both in charge.